Don't pay too much attention to the layout of this level. It's a work in progress. This is just some examples of what we can achieve with this post-processing effect. Let's do a quick explanation of it. The effect looks really cool on low scalability with the shadows and global illuminations and reflections all too low for kind of a retro look. That gives it kind of this like very visible color limiting effect. But it also looks pretty cool though if we turn these up to, like, let's say high. This also creates a pretty cool effect, in my opinion. So yeah, either way you want to use this effect in a retro game, maybe like somewhere in between, like kind of what I'm working on, or you know, maybe even as just like an effect that happens somewhere in the game, something like that. I don't know. That's something for you to figure out. I will just show you how to do it. So yeah, let's without showing you any more examples, let's just get into it. Hello guys, I got a pretty cool tutorial for you guys today again. I found out how to do a cool dithering effect with a custom node in a material blueprint with some custom shader coding. Be aware that I'm not good at shader coding. I'm not 100% sure if this is optimized. It might be better to just do it with blueprint code itself instead of a custom node with custom shader code, but I tried to replicate it in just blueprint nodes that are in Unreal to make it more optimized, but I was not able to achieve the same effect as I'm going to show you right now. Not even close to the same effect. I also couldn't get the same effect with a texture. So without much further ado, let me show you an example real quick. So I got this here, and in the thumbnail you'll see it's a little bit more color limited. So I also made this extra post-process filter that kind of limits the colors even more. Then over here in the post-process, when we come over to the camera section, when you play with the aperture, you can kind of like play with the effect a little bit, and the ISO, and maybe even the shutter speed a little bit. Let me just set that back to what it was roughly. Then also here an exposure in the metering mode also makes it different. I like it like this, manual and just at 0. In the post-processing material itself, I also added something where we can change the blending to where you would only see this like 50% opacity and you would see like the texture behind it. I'll show you, this is kind of what it looks like without any textures in front of it or any landscape or anything like that, just so you can see the dithering pattern real quick. So yeah, now that I showed you roughly what you can do with it, let's get into creating it, shall we? So I'll start pressure by deleting these two. This one's not on, it's just a little bit of a sharpening effect. Don't worry about that one. So yeah, just go ahead and put your post-process in your level. You could do it infinite extend unbound to make it go across your whole level. I think this one's inside of a box here is how it's set up, but I will just be probably doing infinite extend unbound for this one. Then this one we don't use. Just make sure everything is unchecked where I have it unchecked, and put this one on manual. Exposure compensation at 0. We don't have this one. We don't have a dirt mask. And camera, I have the shutter speed at 1 second, or at 60 per second. Then ISO at, was it 219,000? Something like that. Then aperture 7.5-ish. You may also need to mess with the intensity of your directional light and stuff for the post-process with the camera aperture and stuff. ISO, whatever it's called. Local exposure, we don't have anything on. Lens flares, we don't have anything on. Image effects, nothing. Depth of field, nothing. So nothing in advanced. Temperature, nothing. Then here, the saturation. Global saturation, contrast, gamma, and gain are set to these values. Just close this. At shadows, we don't have anything. Midtones, nothing. I don't think there's anything else we have in here. Nothing in global illumination. Nothing in reflections. Film grain, nothing. Post-process volume settings, I don't think this changes anything. I think this is just the priority it has over other post-processing things. This is just how big the box is, I think. The brush settings. Not working. I don't think any of this matters. It's just the pretty much just the camera and the metering mode over here in exposure. Set the manual on 0. I think that's pretty much only the important settings in the post-processing. So anyways, let's make the actual custom node now. Let's just make a new folder. Just call it Dithering. Make a new material. Let's just call it post-process underscore dither RGB underscore master material, I guess. I'm not too familiar with the exact namings that you're supposed to do, or that Unreal likes you to do. And let's come over to the material domain and change it to a post-process. Then let's right click and just type in custom to spawn in a custom node. Let's just make the description dither RGB. And let's make 2 more inputs. Let's call the first one UV. And let's call the second one color. And then the last one we will call view size. Now, for the code, I won't bore you with having you type it all out manually, so I will really quickly make a GitHub page and put it on there and link it in the description. So I've made a repository on GitHub, so just go ahead and click on the link I'll leave in the description, and then come over to shader code and then copy this. Just copy here. Then let's go back to our custom node and just paste it in here. Now let's just go ahead and apply it. Alright, so now let's just add in a screen position for the UVs and add in a mask and just leave it as RG. Then just connect this into the UV. Then add in another one called view size. And then I designed this on a 4K monitor, but I realized that whenever I drag this over to a second monitor that is smaller, the effect would not look the same at all. So I've put in a reference resolution here. You could just leave this as mine. And then here it'll scale the UVs to the actual view size, or it'll scale the view size to the reference resolution, so it will always look the same on any resolution, or it should at least, in theory. Let's just finish it off before I start explaining too much. Then let's add in a scene texture. Open this up and change it to post-process input 0. Then just connect this into color, and then connect this into emissive color, and we should now have the post-process effect already. Alright, that's nice. So now I can also show you real quick how we can add in an opacity to it, or a blend. So let's add in a constant, convert it to a parameter, and let's just call it diver blend amount. And let's change the default value to 1. Then out of the color here, the post-process input, or the scene texture, add in another mask. And this one will do red, green, and blue. Then out of here, let's do a lerp. And then let's lerp between the normal color of our screen, and the B will be our dithered amount, and then the alpha will be our dither blend amount. And then make sure you disconnect this and connect the lerp in here, because I was playing with it without doing that over here. So now when we put it at 0.5, it should start blending in between our normal screen and the dithered. You can lower it even more. 0.1, you barely notice it. 0, it should be off. You get the point. Anyways, so let's apply that and save it, and we can already come to our post process that we've set up. Type in just mat, then add in another array here. Don't pay attention to this one, it's just one that's not on right now. Go asset reference, and then you just select it here and go on this button here, the selected one. Now we should already have our effect here. Boom. Now I'll show you real quick how to do the color banding as well on top of that. And then after we do that, I'll show you how you can kind of play with the values of the dither amount. So let's just make another one. You could maybe do this in the same material, but I think when I tried doing that, it didn't look quite the same, because this one also already limits a bit of the colors in the dithering effect. So let's just make a new material and call it color band. Open it up, And let's just make a scene texture. Change it to post-process input 0 again. Then out of the color, we'll go multiply. And let's add in a constant. Convert it to a parameter. And let's call it color levels. Let's just change it to 16. And actually connect this one to the A and this one to the B, or I don't really think it matters actually. But then Florida's. And divide it by the color levels again. And then we forgot to actually change this to a post-process material domain. And then connect it to the emissive color. You can already kind of see what it does. Now we can also add this here. Asset reference again. We have it selected, so we can just click here. So you can see it limits the colors even more, which is pretty cool. I'll show you again with the it's set on high again. I like it a lot. Now I'll show you real quick what you can do to play around with it. I already showed you here in the camera earlier. You can mess with the aperture to make it look a little bit different, and the ISO kind of changes around the effect a little bit. And then here in the code for the node we did, if you come over here and you increase this value, just increase it or decrease it by 256 each time. If you increase it, the effect will get a little bit lessened, and if you decrease it, the effect will get harder, right? Like the dithering pattern will get bigger. And then if you come over here to the float steps, if you change this, it'll change the color limiting effect. So this one and the color band we just made, they both have a color limiting effect to them. So to change the color limiting on this one, you change this value here. And then you could maybe play around with these values to make the dither pattern look different. But I really like this effect a lot. So yeah, you can maybe set it to 50% opacity. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Let's just apply that. It looks pretty shit out here because it's also adding the color banding effect. Let me just take that one off real quick. So yeah, now you can see it more accurately. Maybe you could also add the opacity to the color band. So you can set that one to 50% opacity as well. And that will get rid of that effect, I'm pretty sure. Just show you what it looks like inside on the wall. And with let's just set these to high. Make it full screen. A real quick tip, if you are using the post-process effect with the pixelation from my other tutorial, then you have to do it differently than what we were doing here with the materials. Over here we were just adding the dither RGB and then the color band in the same post-process. But if you add the pixelation here, it won't look good. It'll mess with the dithering pattern, so just add a new post-process to your level. And then in the material, just add the pixelation effect that we made in that video. If you wanna see that, I think it is the video in the description that is called creating a 90s game aesthetic in Unreal Engine. I'm pretty sure that's where we make this pixelation effect. So now that we added that, you go infinite, extend, unbound. And now it should not mess as hard with the dithering pattern. It'll still look different, of course, on pixelated stuff. So that's to be expected. But it won't mess up the actual pattern itself too much. So if you learned anything, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, because I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. Anyways, see you guys.